Hi tankers, I've recently stopped grinding a lot in World of Tanks, or I'm trying to. I may unlock and purchase the odd tank in the tech tree, but it won't be very often. After all the grinding experience, I thought I would post a video with a few key tips of grinding in the game for some of you starting out or have been playing for just a few months. I've made some mistakes with the grind and I want to share those with you too. It is easy to choose the wrong line to go down in the tech trees. So the first part of the video will be about planning how you're going to play and grind in the game. The second part of the video are the key things to do to make the grind quicker so you can progress all the way to tier 10 without quitting through burnout. So let's take a look at a tech tree. We'll look at the American tech tree one first. So each line goes all the way to tier 10. You start from tier 1. Now I recommend when you start in the game that you don't hang around in tiers 1 to 3 for very long. I don't think you really learn much about the game and game strategy at those tiers. They can be fun and they can give you an idea of what playstyle you might enjoy playing, but I would get to tier 4 as quickly as possible. At this tier the game really opens up, there are more interesting tanks, and you will face tier 5 and 6 tanks. Tiers 4 to 6 should be where you stick around at for quite some time. I would give it at least 6 months before considering purchasing your first tier 7 tank in a tech tree. Now early on you might be fortunate enough to know exactly what kind of playstyle will suit you. You might have decided that heavily armoured tanks are for you, so in that case heavy tanks or assault tank destroyers will be your choice. Or it may be mobility is your priority. You might be considering light tanks or faster, lightly armoured mobile mediums. You can see in the American tech tree here you have a choice of lines. You have the SPG at the top if you're a special kind of player. Then we have lines for assault tank destroyers and turreted less armoured tank destroyers. Then the heavies, a choice of armoured heavies and heaviums, the Yo line. We also have a couple of heavy autoloaders, the T57 heavy at tier 10. Then we have the medium tanks, and then last the light tanks. If mobility is for you, then I don't think you can go far wrong with starting with the Shermans in the American tech tree. I would not start with a light tank line to begin with, even if you really want to be a light tank player. They are more unforgiving and not a wise choice to begin the game with. Start with the Shermans, get the T6 medium, the prototype Sherman, and progress to the M4A1 Sherman. Don't play with the dirt guns at first, get used to the game, play with the normal 75mm or 76mm guns. I know experienced players will tell you to play with the dirt guns because they are fun. Well, let me tell you that dirt guns are not fun for an inexperienced player. They are difficult to use, they will troll you, and you need the experience of knowing when to get in close enough to the enemy to deal damage with the derp without getting hit. Many of the tier 4s, 5s and 6s don't have a lot of armour or hit points. That includes the tier 4 to 6 Shermans. When you have your first few months of experience playing tier 5 M4A1 and the tier 6 M4A3 Easy 8 Sherman, you can think about a light tank line if you really want to play light tanks. I made the mistake of playing light tanks too early. Tiers 1 to 3 it doesn't matter because many of the tanks are classed as light, but at tiers 4 to 6 it gets trickier and playing them too early probably ruined my win rate, so take your time. You could also consider the Soviet T-34s at tier 5 and 6. In fact, they may be a little easier than the Shermans as they have more armour. Consider this line over the Sherman line if you're not interested so much in light tanks and just want to stick to mediums as your main playstyle. The T-34-85 is a very strong tank at tier 6 as it combines both armour and speed. Very rare in the game to get both of these attributes, it's usually one or the other. The downside, and why I prefer the Easy 8 Sherman, is that it lacks a bit of gun depression, although not really bad. Still a strong choice for learning medium tank play. A good light tank line, let's switch to the French tech tree. The French light tank line, the ELC BIS and the AMX 12T are good choices. With the BIS you have the derpy gun, it turns the tank into a light tank destroyer hybrid. Again, I would play with the normal gun first, play it as an orthodox light tank. With experience you change to the higher caliber derpy gun if you want to. The ELC is an excellent stealthy spotter. You will pick up a lot of damage assistance with this tank if played properly. The AMX 12T has the fun autoloader, but it can also spot as a light tank as well, and one of the best tier 6 light tanks in my opinion. I also recommend the Chinese light tank line up to tier 7. You can learn light tanks really well with the M5A1 at tier 4. The tier 6 and tier 7 are also strong. The high tiers are not worth bothering with though, they need buffs. Back to the American tree, the Chaffee is also a good choice to learn light tank play, but I wouldn't recommend the tier 6 or the rest of the line for light tank play. In fact, the American light tank line may be better suited for medium tank playstyle. They are not the best for concealment and spotting, which is what your team will require you to do as a light tank player, otherwise you suffer the abuse. The Soviet light tank line would also be a good choice, although I can't talk much about this line as I have not gone down it, but many light tank players recommend it. If heavies or heavily armoured tanks is your choice, then I would consider a few lines. So sticking to the Soviet tech tree, the KV-1 is an excellent choice to learn about heavy tank play, but also how to block damage. I would then go on to get the T-150 at tier 6. Play those two tanks to build up your heavy tank experience. Great choices in my opinion. I would also consider a couple of German heavy lines early on. They both lead to the heavy VKs at tier 6 to learn the ropes of heavy tank play. The VK30A1P and the VK36A1H are both good choices. You can then go on to get the famous Tiger, the Tiger 1, and the not so famous Tiger, the Tiger Porsche, both at tier 7 when you have experience. Another mistake I made going back to the American tech tree, I chose the American Yo line early on. I've enjoyed the line but not the best for a beginner heavy tank player. The T1 Heavy and Porlac are decent early tier heavies, but after that they are really heaviums. They have a mix of heavy and medium tank characteristics. It makes them a little more difficult to play as you have less armour and you can't play them like a typical heavy tank. Choose a heavy line with good armour first. The British heavies, again I chose this line too early, it was painful. The Churchill 1 has virtually no armour. The Churchill Mark 7 has some armour, not bad in fact, but not the most reliable. Most tier 8s will go straight through it. The tier 7 Black Prince is a good heavy tank though, but you want to get experience at tier 5 and 6 first, and the Churchills are not a wise choice for your first heavy line to go down. Now if you were like me, you might be starting out not sure about what your playstyle will be. It took me a while before deciding that heavily armoured tanks were for me. I mainly play heavies, but I also like assault TDs and assault mediums that have a little more armour, but usually sacrificing on speed and mobility. I realised I just wasn't going to be good enough for more unforgiving playstyles of faster, lightly armoured mediums and light tanks at high tiers, and I sure wasn't going to play SPG. So in the beginning I looked at the tech trees of all the nations and went down many lines just to tiers 5 and 6. This way you get to experience all the different playstyles and you also pick up some knowledge of the weaknesses of the tanks by playing them. This is a great advantage and might be something to consider if you have a lot of time to play the game. If you don't have the time, then it will be a good thing to make a decision early on about how you want to play in the game and what playstyle you enjoy. Then focus on just a few lines of tanks ideal for that playstyle. It will save you a lot of grind and time in the long run. You'll get to tier 10 a lot quicker doing this. But I didn't get my first tier 10 until just over a year of playing the game. In terms of other nations, there are interesting vehicles, but perhaps wait until you have more experience before picking high tiers to grind for in those trees. The Italian and Polish tech trees are very strong. The Swedish have some good tanks too. Let's move on to the second part of this guide, which is what you can do to boost your progression in the game. There is a reason that you must take your time with this game. You must focus on improving your gameplay skills. Becoming a better player is probably going to be the single most important step that you can make to reduce the grind. To go up the tech tree lines from tier 1 to tier 10, you will require XP. This is the research experience you need to unlock modules and to research the next tank in the line. Wins are very important as you gain more XP for a win, so improving your gameplay will increase your win rate. Another important factor is performance. Improving your game will mean more damage and damage assistance per battle. This all increases your XP gains per battle, meaning you can research modules quicker, you can get that top tier gun for your tank quicker, making battles more comfortable, you can get to the next tank in the line a lot quicker. So more wins and better performance equals faster progression in the game. To maximise your XP gains, always try to use combat and free XP boosters. If you're able to get premium account, then this will boost XP too. Also, Wargaming offers a top of the tree every month. This is where 2 lines are picked out offering daily missions that boost the XP for the tanks in those lines, and tanks in the lines will be on discount, saving you credits. You will also have to grind for credits to buy tanks. Again, utilise credit boosters, and if you get free premium account for a day or two, then try and play a few sessions at least during that time to boost credit income. Also, participate in events that will provide more credits. Early on you have the Tank Academy that will provide lots of credits. There are Battle Pass events for credits and XP boosters. There are seasonal events like Steel Hunter and Frontline that can help you build credits. Progression will also be boosted with a few other strategies. Save up your free XP but only use it to unlock key modules on your tank, so the top tier gun and top tier turret. Don't use the free XP to unlock a tank. You can play for XP to unlock the next tank, but you can also use blueprints that you can pick up during Battle Pass events and daily missions that can be used to unlock research on the next tank, saving you playtime if you don't enjoy your current tank in the line. If the tank inherits a good gun at stock from the previous tank in the line, then consider playing through for the XP to eventually unlock the top tier gun. This battle I'm showing you now is me in the tier 7 Panther that went well, although we lost the battle in the end, but I had a very good performance. I've decided to play with the stock gun inherited from the previous tank, the VK3002M, nicknamed the Mantha in the game. The Mantha is a good tank with a decent gun at tier 6. I can make this gun work with the Panther at higher tier. Sure, it is difficult facing tier 9s, but it has been okay and not too painful. The alpha damage is the same as the top gun, but less penetration values. Whenever you get more favourable matchmaking, take advantage and make the stock gun work for your tank. I decided to save the XP for other tanks that might have a terrible stock gun. An example is the Centurion Mark 1 that I featured on the channel recently. Had to use free XP to get the top tier gun in order to make it worth playing. So consider whether you can use the stock gun or not when deciding to use free XP to unlock modules. Invest in a tier 8 premium tank as soon as you can. Once you have experience in the game, you can purchase one with bonds. You don't have to use any of your real money. Bonds can be earned through events and daily missions. It will take you a long time, but at least it will be for free. I made the mistake of purchasing lower tier tanks from the bond store. I already featured one on the channel, the Tiger 131. I would save bonds for the tier 8. Many would say the Patriot or the Liberty are good choices for credit making, but I would say choose a tier 8 premium that suits your playstyle, or you think it will be an interesting tank to play, one you know you will play a lot. Also have a think about the penetration values on the shells. Will you need to spam gold or not? If you've got to spam gold on it, it's not worth having it as a credit maker. I went for the T-34-3 versatile medium tank, which is what you are seeing me play now. Not my main playstyle, but I've really enjoyed it. Something a bit different, and importantly, I've not felt like I've had to spam gold ammo too much that would drain my credits. I've been able to earn credits with it. You really need your premium tank or tanks if you have more than one, because there will be times when playing a stock tank in the tech tree that you'll need to fire gold ammo a lot. You will have sessions where you lose a lot of credits, so play sessions with your premium tanks to make up for the losses. Your tier 8 premium will also come in handy when playing the seasonal frontline event to boost credit gains. You'll also need to build a lot of credits if you intend to buy high tier tanks that can be very expensive, so you'll need to play with premium tanks to help you grind for the credits. Completing daily missions will also boost your credit income. Many missions can earn you up to 50,000 credits on completion. You'll also have extra missions to complete if you're running premium time. Another strategy to consider is to block maps that you do not enjoy and do not play well on to improve overall performance. I've never done this because I like the variety and challenge of playing on different maps. My worst maps are Province and Wide Park. Rarely get a good battle, but I enjoy the fact that they are something different. I've talked about improving your gameplay. You will increase XP gains by making every shot count, learn the weak spots of enemy vehicles and improve your accuracy. Try to save credits where you can. If you feel that standard ammo is adequate, then use it. Only reserve the gold ammo for heavily armoured targets. Onto the subject of playing a tank you really don't like but can't free XP it and you want to progress down the line. I had this issue with the Zadimka, tier 5 Polish tank destroyer. Like you can see now, it does happen. My advice is to play at least one winning battle per day with the tank. The first win of the day gives you 2 times the XP gain. You might be fortunate enough to only play the one battle if it is a victory, but you should get a win within a few battles. That way you can move on to something else that you enjoy playing and forget about that tank until the next day or next time that you play. Don't get bogged down by the grind. It is tempting to keep buying tanks because you want to try something new, but you are left with a horrible grind having to play too many stock tanks. That is the current problem I've got. I've got about 5 or 6 tanks that still need module upgrades to make them competitive. Do as I say, not as I do in this case. Finally, maximise your progression in battle passes. Try and complete as much as you can. Use lower tier tanks if your performance is better. You can now go as low as tier 4 to earn battle pass points. Progression in these events means more free rewards such as premium time, blueprints, credits, equipment, bonds, and credit or XP boosters. I think that completes this guide. If you think I've missed something out, then please do mention it in the comments. That's all from me. I'll see you in the next one.